tell us, what did you do for your birthday? How did you spend it?
Well, I had a lovely surprise. Your dad now has a lot of brownie points because basically he gave me a card on Sunday morning, our birthday. And when I opened it, it said, pack a bag and we were going to the Lake District, which was absolutely lovely. So I threw some things into a bag, different clothes. We were having an overnight stay. We got there. The weather was terrible.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another British English conversation, a chit-chat, a natter with me and my mum. So we're going to be chatting about some random questions using colloquial language, phrasal verbs, idioms, so you can improve your British English listening skills and, well, hopefully enjoy at the same time. So, Mum, welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, I've just celebrated my birthday. Well, actually, I've celebrated my birthday, but also Dad's birthday. When we first met, and he was chatting me up. He was talking to me and flirting with me, I guess you would say. And we talked about horoscopes. I'm Capricorn. He mentioned he was Capricorn. When was my birthday? 11th of January. And he said his was too, which turns out he wasn't fibbing. It really was true. So yes, it was our joint birthday. He's 5 years older. I'll just get
Ah,
that. But yes, yeah, we had a lovely, lovely joint birthday. Thank you.
okay, perfect. And you
And
used a nice verb there, which was fibbing. It turns out that he wasn't fibbing. And to fib is a nice kind of informal and like more gentle way of saying to lie. So he wasn't fibbing. He wasn't telling a fib about your birthdays being actually on the same day, which is crazy. I know. Coincidence. It's mental. It's crazy. But you also said a phrasal verb, which is very British, and I think we actually taught this on one of our short videos a few weeks ago. You said that dad was chatting you up. So if you chat someone up, it's another way of saying like flirting with someone. So he was chatting you up and he said, oh, my birthday's on the 11th of January. Your birthday's on the 11th of January too. What a coincidence.
yeah.
But from there, tell us, what did you do for your birthday? How did you spend it?
Well, I had a lovely surprise. Your dad now has a lot of brownie points because basically he gave me a card on Sunday morning, our birthday. And when I opened it, it said, pack a bag and we were going to the Lake District, which was absolutely lovely. So I threw some things into a bag, different clothes. We were having an overnight stay. We got there. The weather was terrible. It does have a reputation, the Lake District. There's always a lot of rain. Obviously, it fills the lakes, but we were absolutely soaking wet. We went into a cafe. We tried to just keep dry. I borrowed Dad's waterproofs. Luckily, they fit me. And we had a nice walk. And the good news is that we got to have a lovely meal at the end in the evening, a lakeside view. It was a cozy hotel. We had wine with each course, and I'm I'm a lightweight, so I don't drink much. And it was 4 courses. So when the waiter was pouring the pairing wine, I was just not too much, please. So yes.
Okay, perfect. I'll ask you another follow-up question in a second, but you said
Mhm.
you're a lightweight. And if someone is a lightweight, it means they get drunk quite easily, or you get tipsy quite easily.
Yeah.
And on the contrary, if you are a heavyweight, it means you can really handle your booze. You can handle your alcohol, and you can drink pint after pint or glass of wine after glass of wine without actually getting that drunk. So you're a bit of a lightweight. I would say that I'm quite a heavyweight. I can handle my booze. I can handle my alcohol. But this surprise trip and birthday present, did you see it coming? Did you have any idea that that was how you were going to celebrate your joint birthday?
No, I didn't. It was a complete surprise because as you mentioned, you were here over Christmas. So just you went back the day before our birthdays. So just before that, we had a lovely Italian meal at a local restaurant. And obviously your sister, her husband and little grandson, he was there. He was impeccably behaved. He had sticker books, he had crayons. He's only 2 and he was so good. So that was our yes, is love. So that was celebration. So I just thought it'd be something quiet. Maybe we'd go to a cafe or a little local walk, but no, I didn't expect to go to the Lake District. So it was a really nice surprise and very romantic, I have to say, which is not like your dad. But
Uh-oh.
uh, he pulled it out of the bag. It was a lovely surprise.
He's a true romantic in the end, you see. And
We
by the
laughed.
way, if you pull it out of the bag, it's a nice way of saying like that you weren't going to succeed or you weren't going to do something correctly. And then in the end, miraculously, you did it, surprising everybody. You pulled it out of the bag, which is like to surprise people by succeeding or doing something correctly. But now let's get into some more colloquial language. And the first question, Mum, I'm going to ask you, and just so everybody can see it in case you're watching this conversation, I'm going to share my screen for a few seconds as well. So, Mum, the first question is, do you prefer watching something light, like light-hearted, or do you prefer a series that you really have to pay attention to, that you really have to focus to get all of these plot twists?
Well, I think you know the answer to this question. I do like one particular soap. It's very long running. I think it's been on over 50 years. I've watched it since a child. It's called Coronation Street. It's set in Weatherfield, which is it's not a real place, but it's based sort of Manchester way, so it's northern, so a little bit like us, though we're a little bit more sort of the Yorkshire side of it. It's sometimes it's a bit cheesy. They have various plot lines. Sometimes they drag them out. They make them last too long. Yeah, so they think they've got a really good storyline, and it really it needs wrapping up quicker. But the good news is that you can miss a few episodes and you can still catch up. And it's the same people doing the same storyline. But I enjoy it. And sometimes if I'd been at work, it had been a long day, it was just like, oh yeah, I'll just sit on the settee and I'll just put that on and I'll just watch it. I don't have to concentrate too much. And I enjoyed it. Now I'm retired. Sometimes I might do a little sort of a binge watch with dad and we'll watch something, maybe Netflix or something like that. And that case, I like something that really gets my brain thinking. I like some plot twists. I like to think something will happen, but then it does a turn and it's actually a complete twist and something unexpected. So I like both, definitely.
Now, it's funny you mentioned Coronation Street, and of course, I expected that answer because since I was born, since I've been alive, there's always been Coronation Street on the telly, on the TV, 3 or 4 times a week. To be fair, episodes are quite short usually
Mm.
because it's half an hour, but then you have an advert break at the beginning and in the middle. So it ends up being only like 25 minutes
Yeah.
tops, like 25 minutes maximum. But it's the same people who have been working on set, working for this soap opera for 30, 40, 50 years. And of course, characters change a little bit over the years, which is natural. But a lot of the storylines tend to be quite repetitive and sometimes a little bit far fetched, which is a really nice advanced adjective, which is like a bit out of the ordinary, a bit crazy, very unpredictable. So it's the classic thing which you'd watch just to clear your head and to watch something that is like mind numbing, where it prevents you from actually thinking, it numbs your mind, which I think there is a time and a place for this kind of TV show. Myself, I do watch some like rubbish TV and reality TV when I've had a hard, long day of work. I just want to put something on where I don't have to think. I've just got like background viewing and
Mm.
background noise. And I guess that is why you watch Coronation Street.
Yes, and Dad, he says he doesn't watch it. He's not interested, but then he might come in and sort of say, "Oh, what's so and so doing now?" And I'm thinking, "I didn't think you were watching it." So yes, and he'll say things like that. He's even got a nickname. It's called Corrie. It's been going so long, but yes, I think Dad's a secret fan as well. Mm.
No, I think so too. And the famous soap operas that we have in the UK are, of course, Coronation Street, and then set in London as well, you have EastEnders, which I think has been going on even longer than Coronation Street. But at home, we've never
No.
really watched it. I guess there's only enough time and space for one of these things because it's so consistent and constant. You kind of pick one. You pick Corrie or EastEnders. And one more thing to just pick up on was that you said, what's happening with so and so? What's the latest with so and so? And this is a nice way of referring to a person who you don't remember their name or you don't quite know what they're called. It's like, oh, yeah, so and so. Or I had a drink with so and so. Did you see that so and so crashed his car? And a synonym for this is what's his name or what's her name. Did you see what happened to what's his name? Did you see what happened to what's her name?
Yes, yes. And answering your question, I'm definitely Coronation Street. And actually, I remember EastEnders starting, and that was actually later than Coronation Street. But I would say that that was it. That's definitely Southern, and that has like a different. They all have like a theme tune, and or the I think EastEnders they call it the Duff Duffs. It's like, well, hey.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, not good on the Duff Duffs. I think Coronation Street's the sort of duh, 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 duh. Let's quickly move on, please. I'm embarrassing my
On to the next question, and don't worry, you can ask me this one. So I'm sharing my screen once again, and Mum, feel free to ask me this next question.
What's something you swear by in your daily routine, and how did you get into it?
Hmm. Um. In fact, this week in my conversation club, my community, the topic has been routines and habits. And by the way, a little plug: if you are watching this and you'd like to have conversations with me every week and join my conversation classes with lots of other people, then I'll leave a link in the description, and you can chat with me every week about different topics. But enough of the promoting and selling. There are quite a lot of things, to be honest, in my routine that I swear by, like having a coffee. I always need to have a coffee first thing in the morning as soon as I wake up. But these are kind of normal things that I think most people do. And
Mm.
I got into having coffee, in fact, at university, because I never really drunk coffee when I was at school or in my early teens. It was, in
Mm.
fact, when I started going to the gym with my flatmates at university that some of them would have like a shot of espresso before they went to the gym to give them more energy to be able to lift weights and gain muscle. So I was a bit of a sheep and I kind of just followed them. And I was like, yeah, you have a coffee before the gym and you feel more energy and you work out better. Perfect. I'll give it a go. I'll give it a try. So I think little by little, as a result, I started to enjoy the taste of coffee more and more. So then in the morning before I went to class or work, I'd feel like I was craving coffee and I needed coffee to just wake me up in the morning. And I think this is quite universal. Of course, most people do love coffee. But, Mum, you're a bit of a weird one, aren't you? Because you don't
I,
actually drink coffee, do you?
I don't drink tea. I don't drink coffee. I just don't like it. Now, somebody said, and this is something that they swear by, is that they have hot water with lemon juice in it every morning. And I tried that and I don't like that either. I'll have a lot of smoothies and I know Dad takes a lot of supplements, so he swears by taking vitamins and different oils and omegas and things. So everybody, each to their own. I love the smell of coffee. So when he's having a coffee, it smells really nice in the kitchen, but it's not for me.
No, no, but just to go over the expression, the phrasal verb again, you said it, that I swear by having a coffee first thing in the morning. I swear by it. And the weird thing that I do that I also swear by is brushing my teeth in the shower. And I know this is weird for some people, but I'm not alone. There are other people I've spoken to who actually do this. And I don't know how I got into it, but I think I must have been in a rush one day and I was like, okay, I need a shower and I need to brush my teeth. So, ah, I can brush my teeth whilst I have a shower. And since I started doing it, I haven't looked back. And it's been a routine, a habit that I've had for like a decade now. And I swear by it. I mean, I enjoy it and then don't need to brush my teeth after I've had a shower. So, bingo.
You multitasking.
And they say that men can't multitask. Well, I'm proving you wrong.
It's not. I'll just do my teeth at the sink. Normal people.
There's a time and a place for everything, I suppose. All right. Now let's move on to the next one. And I'll ask you this one. And the
Okay.
phrase is bite your tongue. And if you bite your tongue, it's kind of like you refrain from saying something when you really want to say something. Or you have an idea, but you say, oh, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to bite my tongue. So, Mum, have you ever had to bite your tongue at work? And what happened, if so?
Yes. There sometimes you do have to be careful because you don't want to seem like you're treading on somebody's toes, you're interfering. So you might see somebody doing something and think, hmm, maybe it would be better to do it that way. But then you also have to think, if I'm doing something, how would I feel if somebody sort of said, oh, you're doing that wrong? Which obviously you wouldn't say it as bluntly as that. But yeah, sometimes I have thought, oh, that's a strange way to do it. It doesn't have to be at work or just in general. And you might think, would it be better that way? But then you risk the other person being offended. Or, I mean, obviously, if it was something really important, then you would just say whatever and try to say it in a nice way. So perhaps you might bite your tongue and not sort of say it as directly. You would try and be subtle. Um, some people are better at subtlety than others, or some people might just barge right in and just say it anyway and not worry about the consequences. But I'm a worrier, so I tend to try not to offend anybody. So I bite my tongue a lot.
No, it's true. I think it's normal for you to have an urge to say something or to interfere, but you don't want to like actually, I don't know, offend them in the process. So sometimes I'll have some random thoughts and I'll be thinking, oh, maybe I should say this. But
Mm,
I bite my tongue because I think, all right, is the other person actually going to appreciate me saying this? And if the
yes.
answer is no, then I think, okay, it's not worth saying it then. And I think we've mentioned this on one of our previous conversations, but you always taught me that if you have nothing nice to say, just don't say anything at all. And there will be times when I have to remind myself of this, where it's like, okay, they're probably not going to appreciate me saying this. So I'm just going to keep it to myself. I'm not going to
Mm.
say anything. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. It's easy.
It is, and that's a nice way to live. And if you're going to upset somebody, I mean, there's always the classic, well, they say, well, I say bottom, but they say, does my look big in this. And obviously, the last thing that a lady wants to hear if they're asking is, yes, it's enormous. So you just say, you look great. You look great. Own it. So sometimes it is you bite your tongue to be kind because that's a really good thing. Kindness is very underrated. So, yes, just be nice and maybe you could say something, but do you need to say it? So, anyway,
No, no. Sometimes I'm wearing white, and white lies, these harmless lies, are
yeah.
definitely worth telling. Like, if you are thinking about saying something that could be interpreted wrongly, or saying something that maybe you don't fully believe, so it's a white lie, but will make the other person feel fantastic, then this is the winner. Go with this option for sure. All right, let's keep going. Next question. So, Mum, could you ask me this next one?
Mm, let's see.
Da dum, da dum. Here we go.
This is why I'm asking you because you're very well traveled. So it says, have you ever traveled somewhere that was a bit of a letdown? You know, a disappointment.
Perfect. Because a letdown is a disappointment. And if you let someone down, you disappoint them. And yeah, I have traveled quite a bit. To be honest, I haven't traveled that much in the last 5 years, but previously I traveled a little bit around South America, a little bit around Southeast Asia. So I have traveled a little bit. And to be honest, whilst I was in Southeast Asia, there were so many amazing places. And I fell in love with the people, the beaches, the islands, the bars, all of the things that you could do. But whilst I loved being on small islands in Thailand and Indonesia or Malaysia, and I liked this kind of hippie lifestyle, I didn't feel that comfortable when I went to these big cities in Asia. So when I went to Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, I remember being like, okay, this definitely isn't for me because there was so much traffic. People
Mm,
weren't really throwing away their rubbish in proper bins. They might just throw it on the floor. And
mm,
then, I don't know, it wasn't that pedestrianized either. So I think this is a big thing that I value and appreciate. If you can walk around cities very easily, it's so nice. And in Spain and most of Europe, this is one of the best things we have. And I remember in Jakarta and also in Bangkok, while there were some great people and amazing nature in the outskirts, the city for me was just too hectic. It was too chaotic. And
mm,
I was constantly on edge because we didn't really have pavements where you could walk properly. And then you'd have motorbikes and people beeping all of the time. And I don't want to say that I had the highest expectations for Jakarta, for example, but after having been in Bali and thinking,
mm,
wow, this is incredible, and then going there, they were worlds apart, but within the same country. So it was a little bit of a shock to the system. And
mm,
there's maybe one other place that was a little bit of a letdown, which of course, I worked and lived in the south of the United States after I graduated, and I was coaching soccer. And I stayed with different host families, and they were all amazing, making me feel at home. But while I was taken aback and really, really pleasantly surprised by the nature in the United States, when I was in cities, meh again, because the cities are made for cars and it's designed for people to drive from the outskirts and neighborhoods into the city and then leave. So you don't have the hustle and bustle of city life of people walking around in cities such as Atlanta, for example, which is a huge city. But at least when I was there, maybe I went to the wrong places, but I couldn't just wander around different back streets because everywhere was designed for cars. So, long story short, Jakarta, Bangkok, and Atlanta. And if anybody is from those cities, I apologize.
I'm sure it's still a lovely experience and you got to see and everything. I think the only thing I feel is that if you go somewhere and it's what I call too touristy, then, so it's just designed for the tourist and I like to sort of see the real place underneath. So, but you've certainly traveled.
Exactly, for sure. Now, I'd love to go back to these places and just see if maybe I was in a bad mood when I visited these places. And that might have been why I left with the feeling of like, okay, nah, not for me. But hey, we're all entitled to our opinion. And on that note, let's move on to the next question. And Mum, I'm going to ask you this one. And
Okay.
it uses a phrasal verb, which is wind you up. So, Mum, what's something minor, unimportant, that oddly, weirdly winds you up? It gets on your nerves.
This is going to sound really, really awful. Um, it, if somebody's eating next to me and they're eating really loudly, or they're sort of scraping the bowl and it makes a lot of noise, and I just I just hate somebody sort of crunching in my crunching food. I'm sure I've heard that there's actually an expression for this, but I don't know what it is. But I think it may be quite common. Maybe it's just me that's sensitive. But if somebody literally was eating next to me and they were making a lot of noise, or sort of a messy eater, and I know it might not be their fault, but it really sort of bugs me. Um, but by the same token, I also find that if Dad sat on the settee and I go and sit next to him and I'm eating something, I feel really self-conscious. And sometimes that I'll just sit over there while I eat my tea or something. Because when I say tea, I don't mean a drink. I mean tea as in supper or
Uh-huh.
something like that. So yeah, it's noisy eating. It's only minor, but it sets my teeth on edge. It just oh,
Ugh.
apologies to everybody.
I don't think you're alone in this. I think a lot of people are a little bit annoyed or irritated when there's a noisy eater next to them. It winds them up, it bugs them. And I know I'm also a little bit self conscious of this. So if I'm eating, I don't really want to eat with people. And this goes against like all of the social norms that we have where you're expected to go out for lunch and dinner. And of course, if it's with loved ones who I feel comfortable with, it
Mm.
doesn't really bug me. But if I don't know someone that well and then I'm out eating with them, and I usually eat quite a lot, I have to kind of control myself. And I'm a little bit self conscious. And I think, okay, am I eating in a disgusting way? And I hope not. And I try to be on my best behavior because if you're in a bad mood and somebody else is like chewing really loudly, there is something about it that just like it can irk you. It can bug you. Like, ugh. So,
We sound intolerant there, don't we? I think I must have passed that on to you. I'm so sorry.
it's all right. I'm sure we're not the only ones. So let us know in the comments if you also feel self conscious when you're eating because you're worried you're making too much noise, or if it's the other way around. Do you sometimes get a little bit wound up when other people are around you and eating really loudly? Because I guarantee we're not the only ones, or at least I hope not. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And Mum, you can ask me, but I might have to then turn this around and ask you after I've given a short answer, because I think this one applies to you a little bit more than to me. So,
Right.
yeah.
I first, and I'm sure you will turn it around. What's an item you own that you probably should have got rid of by now?
So I remember get rid of something is like to throw something away, to discard something. And I'm a minimalist. I don't own that many things. So there are very few things that I should probably get rid of because I don't have that much. But sometimes, for example, in front of me, I'm looking at a big, what's it called? A big light for recording when it's dark. And I bought two of these and they're not the best quality. So it doesn't actually improve the lighting and brightness that much. So then I try to record above all when it's sunny outside because natural light tends to be the best light. So for that reason, maybe I should get rid of these big lights that take up quite a lot of room and I don't actually really use them. So maybe that's something I should get rid of. But how about you, Mum? Are there any things that you should probably get rid of?
Half the house. You're an absolute minimalist, and when you come from Brussels or from Sevilla and you come over here and you travel light, you have just a backpack. I have to take suitcases of everything. Now, unfortunately, I'm also a bit of a hoarder, which means that I save things, and it's not things that have a lot of monetary value. I'm very sentimental. So I do have in our loft, which is the sort of space above the bedrooms, I have boxes and boxes of cards which you and your sister made when you were really little, and they go back to when you were nursery school age and primary school age, and lots of pictures and drawings and just lovely little notes that you sent me. And even recently, I thought I must get rid of something. I must have a clear out. And I opened the box. I went through everything. I intended to get rid of so much, but they were just so sweet. And I just thought, oh, look, the, oh, your sister. They were just sort of like, Mummy, I love you and things. I couldn't get rid of them. So they're still up in the loft and they'll probably stay there until I have to downsize. And then you'll probably just throw them away, but because you did them as a child, so they were just done as a spur of the moment thing, as you know, as just a Christmas card. Whereas to me, they're a memory. So I'm way too sentimental.
Exactly. And now they're just collecting dust. And you can't bring yourself to get rid of them. But fair enough. I mean, when you look back at these things, at old photos, that you always send me an old photo on my birthday, and that's always nice to look back on. And you're like, oh, those were the days, weren't they? And you can get a bit nostalgic. You can
Oh,
reminisce the good old
mm.
days. So, whilst I am a minimalist, perhaps I take it too far. And maybe in your hoarding, you also take it too far. So we
I
need
do.
to meet in the middle, I think.
Yeah. Yes, I need to declutter.
Absolutely. Now let's move on. So we've got two more questions. So we'll each answer one of them. And I believe it's my turn to ask you, Mum, I think. So,
Okay.
Mum, have you ever pretended to understand something to avoid looking daft? And daft is a nice way of saying a bit silly, a bit stupid, like you don't know something. So, have you?
I'm sure I have many, many times. Um, Sometimes it's not even that I've pretended to understand sometimes, people, they say mumble, which means you don't talk very clearly. And I'm sure as I'm getting into my 60s, I'm sort of perhaps my hearing isn't as sharp as it was. Um, Dad does have a habit of mumbling, which means you sort of talk quietly. So I might ask him to repeat something. So he will say it and then he'll say it again, but not louder or more clearly. And so then I feel a little bit embarrassed. So sometimes I just don't like to ask him to repeat it like another time. So I'm just like, oh, yes. And I have had no idea what he said, but I just think he'll just think, oh, so maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just my hearing, or maybe I don't think there's anything major because I don't think I'm clever enough to sort of say to sort of blag it. If I've not understood something, there's no shame in saying, "I'm sorry, what do you mean?" Because actually, I'm just starting some classes again, for my Spanish. and the tutor's lovely, and she just said, don't feel embarrassed. If you don't know the answer, just say that you don't know, and then somebody will explain it. And quite often, um, you might think, I don't know that, and you pluck up the courage to ask, and you can tell that somebody else didn't know either, but they didn't want to ask. So it actually helps if you just say, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. I didn't understand it. So yeah, just ask,
Hmm.
unless
No,
you're like,
no way. And there's a nice phrase which is like, there's no such thing as a silly question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Because the more you ask and you show your curiosity, the more you're going to learn. I actually sometimes wish that I had been and that I was more curious about certain things. Because when you ask and you think, like, oh, how does that work? Oh, why is that the case?
"Mhm,
That's how you learn. So, in the environment of a class, the more questions you ask, the more you're going to learn. And when I'm teaching, for example, sometimes people will say, "Oh, Lewis, do you mind if I ask a question? Like, it's a silly question. It's a silly question, but can I ask anyway?" I'm like, Of course, yeah. Go
oh,
ahead, ask me." Like, there's no such thing as a silly question. So ask away. And you used a nice phrase as well, which was pluck up the courage. So if you're feeling that you're a bit shy, timid, scared, and then you know you need to do something, you have to pluck up the courage, which is like gather the bravery and the courage to do something that you are afraid of doing. So pluck up the courage and ask away. Ask as many questions as you want.
mhm."
Good. Okay, now shall we finish off with the last question? So now it's on you, meaning it's your turn. So, Mum, could you ask me this final question?
Oh, what's a very small thing that instantly cheers you up?
Oh, lovely. A nice way to end, isn't it? So, of course, if something cheers you up, it puts a smile on your face. It makes you feel happier when you're down. And of course, there are many things I could say. Um, I could say that when I see a photo or a video of my nephew, of your grandson, that cheers me up. When my fiance comes home and fun. Like seeing loved ones smiling and having fun for sure cheers me up. And I think it cheers everybody up. But another thing that I think, Mum, you'll probably agree with me on this, is watching videos of kittens or puppies or babies like falling over or just like sat next to somebody else, like having a little kitten like purring next to you or a little puppy like climbing on top of you or even a little human baby just being all cute. Like if I'm ever a little bit down, it's really nice to watch any of these videos that'll pop up on your Instagram feed and it's like it'll put a smile on your face and it'll cheer you up. And it's simple yet effective. And Mum, I think you see eye to eye with me here, right?
I do, yes. You can't beat a kitten or a puppy or a cute baby. I mean, we have ones of my grandson, your nephew, and sometimes I was watching one, it came up on my phone the other day, and it was just so cute, and it was you talking to him, and he was sort of obviously not at the stage where he could speak, but it was just so cute, that interaction. And sometimes, like you say, to put a smile on your face, sometimes if somebody that you don't know they smile at you, a genuine smile, that can make you feel better. I did have a small minor thing that cheered me up the other day, and
Okay.
this sounds very bizarre, but I had such a lot of chocolates and things at Christmas. Clearly, I'd hidden some, and I found the box the other day. Such a minor thing, but they were the best chocolates, and that really cheered me up. And that was very minor, but yeah, that was just a silly thing, I know, but it was just like, "Oh, I've found these." Or sometimes if you don't know and you put your hand in your pocket and it's like, "Oh, I'd forgotten I had that £5 note. Woo!" So,
These
but yeah,
these little wins.
yes, like the little wins.
Now, you mentioned just like strangers smiling as well. Like this morning, my first class got cancelled. So then I was like, well, I might as well go for a little walk. And I picked up a coffee, grabbed a coffee on the way back. And when I was ordering and getting my coffee, the guy who was serving me was like really cheerful and he was smiling. He had a big, wide smile, which, of course, it's insignificant and it's such a small thing. But if somebody else is smiling, it usually makes you smile as well because it's infectious, I think. Awesome. So, on that note, I think we will wrap up. We will finish this conversation. So, as always, thank you everybody for watching or just listening. Hopefully, you've learned lots of new English. And if that is the case, maybe you can put all of these new words and phrases into English with Lewis application. And that way you can review your flashcards. You can speak to my AI version and do some role plays with me. So like the conversation club that I mentioned earlier, I'll leave a link to my conversation club and my application so you can continue to learn English 24/7 and hopefully finally become 100% fluent. And thank you, Mum, for joining once again.
Oh, sweetheart.
Bye bye.
Bye.